I suddenly have a safe place where I can keep information. How quick, most of them are amazed how quick we can do stuff. What you're trying to convey is how do you make people interesting? All the data security.
That's all in Google.
It's all in Google. Fintan, do you really want to be writing about
XYZ? Maybe not.
This is the first thing we look at. Have we got shelter? Have we got safety? Have we got food? But our system even works. If they stop using us, they have access to all the data. So where do you find the authentic voice, the look and feel, and say, this is what our company's about, not what our manager says.
Hi everybody, Fintan here from Damson Cloud, and this week I'm here in Dublin, as I always am, but I'm joined by Dr. Pete from Steegle. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, Pete.
Thank you.
Pete is here from a company called Steegle, who we've actually worked with for quite a while, and it's going to be talking about a digital workplace solution that they have for Google Sites. Thanks for taking the time to join us, Pete.
Thank you.
Myself and you have known each other for quite some time. We go back at least a decade or more at this stage.
When it was Google Apps?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A few name iterations of Google Workspace, G Suite, Google Apps, as it's been. Listen, why don't we just start a little bit of an introduction from yourself and Steegle?
So I'm a director and co-founder of Steegle. Steegle is a Google Cloud partner, just like Damson.
Yeah.
But we have always been specialized in Google Sites. And currently we're more of a product company than we are just a cloud partner, because we develop employee engagement, digital workspace platforms, but specifically for Google. We don't do, for any other platform. We ride on the back of Google technology. Everything we develop is in Google. So that's what we do today.
And what about yourself? Maybe give us a 1 minute on your background, because I know you've been in IT industry.
So I've done many different jobs. I started off actually as a scientist, which is where I got the doctor from. I used to design drugs for brain penetration, believe it or not. Oh, wow. Then I ended up being a project manager. I worked for people like Apple. I worked for people like Ernst & Young, European Commission, all sorts of different companies. And then I became a sort of management consultant, helping drive digital transformation, buying and selling companies with IT. And then I always wanted to run a software company. And funny enough, I am now. so because I was always impressed by how software is like nothing, it's like everything. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but man, it changes people's lives. And we all know that with our iPhone, how things have changed. So software was always really my passion. And so now I'm actually head of product in the sense that I'm developing this platform.
And like we had some interesting conversations beforehand, just talking about digital workplace solutions. I think we might start there. You were talking about how with companies moving remote and having that physical space, trying to replicate that place in the digital world. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about digital workplace solutions and how companies are trying to maintain that cultural piece.
So the problem is, when you worked for a corporate or a company, you had their website, you had all the stuff on the outside. But when you walked into the company, you saw the artwork on the building, you met colleagues, you felt comfortable.
You felt the vibe.
You felt the culture, right? So, and two companies could be doing exactly the same thing, and you might like working for one because that vibe fitted in with you. Yeah. Today, the problem is, and if you take a company, for example, you're in Dublin, you might employ someone in the States. Yep. Or we've got companies, for example, in San Francisco, employing people right around the globe. They never did that before, and they don't have to pay the high salaries that they used to. But then how do they get the culture across? Yeah. You're just meeting your manager fleetingly while they give you tasks to do. How do you feel that that's a good company to be working with? And how do you make what might look like a good company into a great company? Great companies are when you feel you're being directed, you feel you know the chief exec, you feel like you know what they're about, you feel like you know the direction of travel. I mean,
the mission,
but also vision. You feel part of it. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So some people say, well, this company gives me nice gym perks, or this company does this.
Yeah. Free food.
Free food like Google do. But one of the main things is if you really feel that you're being welcomed, felt important, you felt you fit part of that culture, and the way that they work suits you.
Yeah, and that psychological safety you spoke about.
That's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's the first thing we look at. Have we got shelter? Have we got safety? Have we got food? Yeah. Now, if the organization, they might show something on the outside, but internally, how do you display that if you don't have a physical building? What if you're employed and you've never walked into any physical building? Yeah. That happens often. So you really want a place where you're not just searching a Google Drive and looking for files. You're looking at a place where is our internal brochure? Where's the internal information telling me what the mission's about, telling me what my employee well-being, telling me who my colleagues are, how do I feel comfortable? I've been a project manager many years. And one of the things I always do when there's a massive project, I actually take people to dinner or a social thing before I do the project. Yeah. And then people say, why are you doing that? I said, because the minute people feel comfortable, connect, they're forgiving, they're flexible, they care.
It's totally different.
It's totally different. If you don't really understand someone, you're not going to really do all that stuff. Yeah. So really,
like we've been doing over the last 2 days. We could all have done this remote. We could have done it on a video call. Both the videos and the partner and team day that we had yesterday, but it made more sense for you guys and for Jump Cloud team as well, who came over and met with our team and engaged with our team. Yeah. It's a totally different experience. And going for dinner last night and that engagement, we will be different with each other after this because we have all met and connected.
And you care.
Yeah.
Right? That's possible. The difference. And that's when you feel my company's not good, it's great.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling connected to it. I feel connected to their mission. I feel connected. I want them to do well so that I do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about being aligned in those things. So that's what we're trying to do in digital. When we talk about digital workplaces, we talk about employee engagement. Yeah. There's a big issue at the moment. And the issue is that people don't actually feel engaged. And because if they used to walk into the office, they were forced to be engaged to some extent. But if you know that you can stay at home on a Friday and a Monday and not actually turn up, and actually you get connected to your home things. So where's my employee engagement? How am I making sure that I'm delivering? How am I making sure you're maximizing what the staff give you and what you give the staff as an organization?
And what do you feel are the kind of practical business pain points for like comms teams and IT and HR that they're trying to solve?
Well, there's some basic stuff like, I just gave you the example of a company based in, say, San Francisco, employing people all over the place. Well, they're all going to have rules, procedures, details of employment, details of the practical stuff of how we do business, right? And that sort of stuff is basically, you might call it housekeeping, motherhood stuff. But if you don't have an intranet, where do you get that information from? Yeah.
You want to secure searching documents, can't find it.
So what they say is, go to this part of Google Drive and search here.
Go to this chat, ping John, he knows where it is.
Exactly. And there's a lot of time wasted again and again going through this stuff. So rather, wouldn't it be good if you could empower your colleagues to find the stuff for themselves? And also, what about the colleague who's less sure, who doesn't even know who to ask? Well,
who won't ask necessarily.
Especially sometimes people are very technical, they're not interested in asking. Yeah. So you may want a forum where you can have that sort of stuff. You may want a question, you may want a suggestion box, but also, to be honest, if you can do a search and find it for yourself, what's better than that?
That's what most people want.
That's what people want these days.
Yeah.
They want it to be efficient, they want to get on with their job. And if a customer's asking them a question or somebody's asking them, they want to know the answer straight away.
Yeah,
I mean, messing around.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because even for booking some of the meeting rooms, one of the previous companies we used to use, not where we are right now, there was no application to do it, and you had to phone them, and it was all very manual. And I remember thinking, where's the app? This is 2024. Like, where's the system that can do this? This is I don't have time to be making phone calls.
To be honest, we've lost patience.
Yeah.
We've lost patience to make phone calls, right? Yeah. In the whole thing about running around and doing that stuff, you're not used to it.
Yeah, people do it when they have to.
They do it when they have to, and when and that can be extremely frustrating, and it can drag someone down. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing I'm thinking that, you want to find. And also, by the way, you want your digital workspace to be really easy to navigate and easy to find stuff. Because another sort of problem that happens is if people have built up a sort of intranet or digital workspace, they sometimes have a plethora of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I see stuff like, I could talk about like large retail companies, I could talk about even news companies who've built up loads of, if you like, internal wikis, a load of internal sites, which are completely impossible to navigate.
Yeah, and usually outdated as well.
Yeah, they're not kept up to date because they're very hard to keep up to date.
IT have to do it, it's cumbersome.
And it's like sometimes the third parties have to do it.
Yeah.
We get asked that question. If we get an intranet for you, do we
have to? Yeah.
I said, no, that's exactly the opposite of our philosophy. Yeah. We want to empower you to do the stuff. We want you to keep your stuff up to date. We want you to be happy. Yeah. Right? The last thing we want, that's not our business. We sell software. We don't sell how to turn screws all the time. That's not our job. And you should feel the platform's flexible enough to turn the screws the way you want to.
And what would you say to companies that feel like intranets are a little bit like 2010?
Well, I think
why are we still talking about internet?
That could have been because we had the whole movement to moving to the cloud, and then do you feel that you need an intranet where the old days but now, as I said, it's more than ever because people they want to self-service.
Yeah,
they want to get stuff.
Comes back to what you were saying of the self-service,
and also they want to feel empowered to get that information wherever they want it from. So if it's procedures, we talk to clients like they don't want their team to be wasting time. Yeah, because there's a lot of time wasting looking for stuff. I mean, I'm hoping that the AI stuff is going to help us with finding stuff, accelerating stuff. But with all this information, right? For example, a typical story is, where's my employee handbook? And they say it's on Google Drive, right? But what do you find on Google Drive? You find 10 copies of employee handbook.
Which is the one I'm supposed to...
Which is the one that I'm supposed to, what's relevant, what's new, what's got the right policies.
Or like you were saying earlier, in a different location, like maybe there's a different employee handbook for Spain, for America, for UK.
And how would you know?
You don't, so it's surfacing that information that's relevant to the person and where they are.
So that's the kind of empowerment, and HR departments are looking for this. Internal comms are looking for the authentic voice. Because they know that, for example, they may have a Facebook channel. If they may have a LinkedIn channel, they may have Twitter, right? And they may have all these other different formats of WhatsApp is very typical. Some people, you have departmental chats, right? Which are nothing to do with what goes at corporate. These are the sort of things that you face. So where do you find the authentic voice, the look and feel, and say, this is what our company is about, not what our manager says, right? This is what the company is. And that's the kind of thing that you can get if you do it properly on an intranet, and you have a way of making sure that you have a broadcast voice of the company.
And within this sort of intranet digital workplace solutions, what are the kind of platforms and what are the different things that you're seeing across these platforms?
So obviously we are now in a position in 2024 where people have moved a lot of things off to the cloud. Previously, there was a lot of SharePoint and other things based on servers in on-premise. But there must be, I think I looked at a report by Clearbox, I think there must have been 50 odd platforms. Wow. If you go to G2 or one of these things, now remember when you look at G2 or Gartner, you're not really seeing all of them. You're seeing people who generally have paid to get on those things or put a lot of effort into getting on them. So you're not really getting the full spectrum, and people are doing web searches to find out other solutions, but there are lots of solutions out there. And some of those tackle specific markets and some of them more general. So where Steegle comes, for instance, our market is Google, right? Because we say Google is managing all your security, Google's managing all your GDPR compliance. If your healthcare is HIPAA compliance, all the data security.
That's all in Google.
It's all in Google. And it's in our system even works. If they stop using us, they have access to all the data because it's all within Google. We don't take any of that data.
You're a layer essentially.
We are essentially a layer built on top of Google sites. So in fact, we end up getting people who've got a lot of compliance things. For example, we're dealing with a hospital at the moment, and they've got 2,000 users, and they don't want their data to be shipped off to somebody else. There's data sovereignty issues because they have to be extra careful because you're talking about patient names potentially being there. You've got HR,
maybe medical data.
Well, it shouldn't really be on an intranet, but maybe, but things that could get them sued. Could
Potentially.
So those sort of clients. So just like you'll find. There must be at least 10 or 15 platforms designed for SharePoint. So they build on SharePoint, but we're one of the few that actually build on the Google platform.
Yeah.
And everything we do is designed to scale on Google and provide those digital workspace things that they need on Google.
And maybe like that kind of leads into my next question, which is like, how did Steegle come about? Like, what's the sort of journey for you guys of that Steegle.One product that you have now? I remember talking to you in the early days, and there was some of the what are now part features in your overall tool. How did it come about?
So really, the story about Steegle is Steegle being a partner, but we were more like a digital transformation consultancy. Yeah. So a client would come to us, and we would then help them get onto the cloud and do the digital transformation, and we would tell them some Google stuff, whatever was needed for that. But what ended up happening is we were also experts in Google Sites.
And I remember that in the early days. I mean, like it was yourself and Steve I would go to. It was Google Sites question. Steegle were the ones,
Well, because in the world, there are literally a handful of people with our expertise. Yeah. And I think 100%. Confidently I can say we're number one, right? Yeah. So it's great to be in that position. When it comes to Google Sites, Google themselves talk to us. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And we've had that relationship for a lot of years. And so we started off in the Google Sites world, building, if you like, dashboards, benchmarking tools, things like that, internal websites for people. And then they said, well, we need a staff directory. And some of the solutions that they had are all shipping their data. So if you think about, again, people who are security interested, and you've seen that recently there have been some sort of, in the US and in the UK, like the BBC just had a problem recently, and some other people have had problems. It's not the BBC that had the problem, it's when their data goes to somebody doing a payroll or doing something. When it leaves, then that is a transit risk. And that's the place where the security risk is. And so that's why we ended up, first we built our people tool, which is now basically a talent base. It's like an internal Facebook where you can keep all your qualifications, you can keep all your hobbies, interests, videos, you can put documents even on a profile. That's an amazing feature. We can see where, I can say Fintan's where he's going to be next week. Is he going to be in the coffee shop, or is he going to be using Google locations?
Or where is he going to be?
That's all, whatever Google does, we basically take information that's hidden away and bring it out.
Surface it.
That's what we do. So there's lots of stuff like that. And because Google has got so many tools available, it's great. But looking at, for example, other tools out there, they are a lot slower to implement because if you think about it, we've got all your data from Google. And we know every user, we never have to sync it, right? As someone joins, they're immediately on the platform, or the OU, if they're in the right OU, they're on the platform.
And it's using Google's permissions.
Using Google permissions, right?
The security is already set up generally.
And then you can say, well, I'll allow Fintan to change his About Me section, but I'm not going to allow him to have awards, right? So you'd say, okay, someone from HR can do the awards thing, or his manager could do that. But those are the things that we have, and then we can do all sorts of amazing things like org charts. We've got 6,000 users on one of our on our sites, and they have an org chart for 6,000 users. How does it build it? You have to press the button to build that org chart, or you have 100 different org charts. Based around different departments and things.
So maybe you could take me through the product then a little bit and answer some of these questions. Like, I mean, obviously one of the first key one is trying to find information for people and have that authentic voice, that private space.
So the first thing is, you want to design a site that's got the right look and feel.
Yeah.
And again, when you buy a lot of off-the-shelf packages, they allow you to change colors and icons, but they don't really get what you want. But Google gives us Google Sites, and we can do anything in Google Sites, right? Provided it's got Google font and the color's normal, if we can do it.
The color exists in the world.
We can do it. So that's the authentic look and feel. And then we've got to give them a place where they can get news. Right. So I said earlier on, you've got Facebook, Twitter, this, that. How do you want your internal news? So we build a news tool, and that news tool is designed so that you can have a newsletter so that you can get an update whether you're there or not. And also we have multiple feeds available. So for example, you could have a feed for HR, you could have a feed for IT. So IT
different locations.
Different locations. Yeah. You can have a feed for different offices. So that's all something that we build in the tool.
And I'm correct in saying that you can also, like, that democratization piece as well. It doesn't have to just be IT updating this. You could give different teams or people the ability to update or add to this news feed.
So one of the things that happens, Google Sites has got one or two problems with it. And the main, it's not really a problem, it's
a limitation.
A limitation. No. The way it's designed is, once you're an editor, you can edit anything in the site. So what we do is, our news tool, you could give somebody permission to edit the news tool without them actually editing the whole site. And we can also have differences between editors and, if you like, curators. So you can type in some information and then I can say, yeah, that's a good story, I'm going to put that in.
Or it's approved.
It's an approved story. Yeah. Or I can say, Fintan, do you really want to be writing about
XYZ? Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to write about
problems at home.
You better not approve that. Denied.
So that's one of the things we do. So we've got the authentic news tool, and that can be that can be used in multiple different ways. And you know, even things like schools, for example, or hospitals, they actually put them on some of their screens.
Yeah. Right? Again, a curated version of it.
Curated version. Yeah. That's one of the things that we do. So first is the culture and the brand and all that sort of bit. The next thing is you want to find your apps.
Yeah.
So you know, clients, they use things like Jump Cloud, they use things like Okta, and that's the way that they can control the apps available. But some clients don't really have all that much, and if you're 200 users, you might not want all those tools, right?
Well, and even if you have them from a single sign-on point of view, you might just want to put all the tools and links to the tools in one place, you know.
Yeah, and you might want to know what the tools do.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So when we put, for example, let's say we've got an app to do an event. That's not really an app. But it's like if we use Eventbrite, that's something we as an organization have agreed that's our platform. So you would write some text to event management, and here's Eventbrite. We write some narrative there so that somebody who doesn't know anything, A, can find it. B, you might actually say, contact Miriam in the corner who manages events. You can put that information in there, and it's very easy to update that information.
Yeah, because it's Google Sites.
Because it's Google Sites, and anybody can build a Google site.
And you mentioned the people app, and we could dig into that a little bit. Finding that kind of real-time information about staff, very important. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that feature.
So basically, if you want to know who's in the business, you can go to Google Contacts, right? But Google Contacts doesn't really have the full picture. What we have done is create a Google, if you like, talent base. So we have a page, and on the page you'll have, you can have a nice big profile picture, so you can show something about yourself. If you like playing golf, you like going on holiday to certain places, that can be there.
I saw that in the demo. We had a guy with a nice boat or whatever. I can imagine my kayak maybe, or my paddleboard in my profile.
Because it makes it, what you're trying to convey is, how do you make people interesting? Is you give a little bit of that interest in the profile. The other things is we can kind of search for communications you've had with that person. We've got little widgets there that allow you to search for chats you've had with them, search for events that you've done with that person.
I like that chat add-on. I saw that. That was quite cool.
So that is very cool, because quickly you can
surfacing information again.
You remember, it's about digging that information. And then we have, let's say we put Fintan's profile in. So Fintan can just write basic stuff, but he can say actually at the weekends he likes cooking, he likes traveling, and then you can say, okay, you know, things I take on a desert island, my previous companies. If you've got a problem with this kind of technology,
I
talk
can help
to me
you
about.
out.
These are my food allergies.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
some basic things in schools and other environments. People want to know that kind of basic stuff. You know, things that I want to do before I die. That's one of the weird ones. Right? We've had some strange requests. Dog breeds, favorite football teams, and you can have them so that you can select from the football teams, or you can put in open text.
Yeah,
so if you select, then effectively, let's say you were mad about Chelsea or the Dallas Cowboys or whatever it is. Because I don't know really football teams, but we have a lot of American clients. and you click on that, then suddenly you click on that hyperlink, you'll see everybody else who likes
the same thing as you.
The same thing as you.
And again, in large organizations, that's helping with that connection and that culture. And
basically, there's also a big movement in places like the States where they talk about affinity groups or employee resource groups. So that's a kind of way that you connect all those different things as well. So if you want all the people who come from a certain culture, you can do that. Those are the sorts of things that you can do in the Intranet.
Fantastic.
So when, you know, it's a great frustration for a lot of clients that keeping org charts up to date. But the beauty of our system, it takes all that information out of Google Directory, automatically creates an org chart. And even if you're a contractor, you've got a Google account, you might actually want to know who those people are. We can exclude them from the org chart, but they can also be in the org chart, and it can be done. It's instantaneous because it's in Google.
Yeah, because it's in Google.
They're on as soon as
synchronization.
There's no synchronization and no risk.
Yeah.
So if you put stuff that you don't want to get out, you know, like the BBC, you don't have a problem. This is not going to go anywhere because it's all within Google.
Yeah. Again, it's that augmented layer, which is fantastic. And what about finding documentation? We touched on that earlier. How does Steegle, you know, assist customers with
so
that?
Google Drive is such a fantastic tool, right? But it's so fantastic that sometimes it's too much, right? It's not curated, right? No. We can't say, so we talked earlier on about looking at, for example, your employee handbook, but let's say we want a form, something basic, right? There'll be 50 copies of that form, some filled out, some done by here, and they'll all be shared drives that you can get access to. So how does HR, how does comms, how does IT say, okay, you want a new laptop? Either they should have it driven by a Google form, but if they had a physical form, you would have that physical form and you'd know that this is the authentic form that needs to be filled up. And you can drive the whole process by building it into a Google site. And using our tools, we've got something called Steegle Share, which builds, if you like, a component of the Google Drive. And again, the different departments do not have to have access to the whole site. They can just keep their people up to date. They can keep their news up to date, and they can keep their files up to date ever without editing the site once. So you don't have any risks, really.
And then the other piece that I'd seen within the tool, which was quite interesting to me, was that managing internal events.
Yeah.
I know Google has its own very basic sort of embed of a Google Calendar, but your one looked a little bit more impressive.
The reason why we had to build the corporate calendar is because when you look at the Google one, it's just very difficult to use on a mobile.
Yeah.
It's not very
bold. It doesn't have that dynamic.
It's not bold enough, and you know, it's just hard to work with. So we built a calendar which will tell you up and coming events. So what do people do? For example, they talk about town halls, they talk about HR appraisals, they talk about national holidays because they hooked it into something. Yeah. And what if you've got a site in India and in the US and in the UK?
Yeah.
You might want to have the national holidays for another country. So that's something we build into that calendaring tool. But it's really a notification board to see what's going on within the organization at the highest level.
That sort of digital notice board piece, like we're talking about converting some of that physical space into the digital space.
Yeah, we have things like staff recognition as well. So there's a place where you can say, well, Fintan's done a great job, and or you can say Fintan and Jane has done a good job, Joe's done a good job, and you can have all of them on there as well. Yeah. So we have a way of recognizing people.
I'd prefer to be recognized on my own, if that's okay.
I think your reputation is big.
My reputation precedes me, so that's okay. And what kind of clients have you guys found tend to buy Steegle?
Because we're aligned with Google, it's people who love Google, right?
Makes sense.
And people who care about data protection. But that then has ended up with, we've had quite a few sort of, in industries like healthcare, that's been quite a big one for us. Things like education.
Yeah.
A lot of them use Google Sites anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're interested, for example, they want to know where all the teachers are. It's like if you want to mail, by the way, we've got another feature, you could mail all of the, if you've got, say, an academy, you've got 4,000 teachers, you could mail all of those teachers at once, right? You could say, I'm going to mail only the science people, and you can dig that, and that's all instantly done.
Wow.
It's a great feature.
And what's the kind of feedback that you've kind of gotten from customers?
Well, feedback normally is things like, you've saved us a lot of time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very efficient. I suddenly have a safe place where I can keep information. How quick? Most of them are amazed how quick we can do stuff. Because if you do intranet projects, I don't want to name, there's a big company in the UK which has put in intranet and it took them like a year and a half. A lot of our projects can be done in literally weeks.
I know, I was quite surprised at that as well.
Right, because we have no servers, we run everything on Google, all the information is on Google. There's a question of manipulating stuff.
Yeah.
So we can build stuff. And by the way, a lot of people come to us who've been on SharePoint previously. If they're on Microsoft 365, they were on SharePoint and they need to migrate that site over, then we get involved with that. But the kind of feedback is like, people feel there's something that they've got like something they can express themselves. And really it's the speed and efficiency of everything.
Yeah.
It's just like, for example, we've got one which is, if you like, a series of schools for autistic children. It's not really schools, they're like specialist or autistic clinics, if you like.
Yeah.
And the chap said, we've got staff coming in and out all the time. I don't have to explain anything anymore. Yeah, we've got YMCA, same sort of thing. The YMCA, they've got, I think, 3,000 people in this particular one. I forget the exact numbers. But again, they have a lot of like summer staff, things like that coming in, going.
I haven't had that repetition of conversation.
Yeah, then we've got, for example, we've got, like TGI Fridays, a part that some people who franchise that kind of, they've got 100,000 staff, right? But they only have like, let's say 1,500, 2,000 managers, right? And a lot of those people are churned.
Yeah.
So again, the managers all stay up to date. They're the people using the system. If they've got signage coming in and all that, they know where they're getting their stuff from. And our system is also quite good because there are a lot of these tools which are very expensive, and our one gets cheaper the more that you've got. And actually, those tools, Google provides a lot of the stuff. It just doesn't surface it.
Yeah. So that augmentation.
So you're not paying for double licenses effectively.
And then the kind of last piece before we run through some of the case studies. Obviously, people can buy it direct from yourselves. They can work through a partner. We're reselling it, Damson Cloud, for any of our own customers looking at this. What's the value of working with partners? Why have you guys kind of decided to go the channel route?
We think partners add a lot of value. Okay, one is they give them a single point. A partner is a trusted source. A partner, if you're already working with a partner like Damson and we mess up, we don't. You look at our Trustpilot reviews, look at all of our reviews, we're amazing, right? But having said that though, the client gets a level of assurance that they know at the end of the day, their partner's going to bat in their court and make sure they've translated any technical needs. And for us, it's very accelerated because we're dealing with people who know what they're dealing with.
Yeah, I think that acceleration piece, and we were talking about it before, for a lot of our customers, that's the value we bring as a partner.
You understand it. You look at them in a minute, and we can't do that.
Yeah.
And also we get all kinds of people from right around the world coming to us. And some of those are not going to be the right people for us to work with. But when we know there's a partner, again, they've gone through all the hoops. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff because we know they're on Google. They are a genuine case. They need that.
Have their security set up correctly. All that other stuff that we would do. And I could actually see a Steegle project being part of other work that we do, whether it's change management or security reviews or other pieces of work.
Well, we've got a partner in the US who's saying when they do migrations, they might as well just bundle it. Because it's not that huge an expense, and then suddenly
adds a huge amount of value.
And that's exactly there's that kind of stuff, and suddenly that they're dealing with a lot of stuff was dealt with.
All right. Well, I think we might grab the laptop and maybe just go through some of the case studies. If you could take us through that would be great, and then we'll do our little wrap up.
So if we look at some of these companies that we have here, We're involved in sectors like we've got technology, we've got a lot of healthcare, we've got a lot of not-for-profits. Not all of them are.
Yeah, you mentioned the not-for-profits.
You see, not-for-profits are also looking for ways to do things effectively and cheaply.
Yeah.
And when you consider some of the packages can cost 5 to 10 times what we charge. And they're actually they're massive solutions.
And they often have a lot of compliance as well.
Requirements. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely right. And again, the Google thing takes care of that. And one of the problems is, I always tell people, before you put an intranet, think about who's going to manage it. How they're going to keep it up to date.
Democratization bit.
And when we design Steegle, we always design it with the idea we haven't got many people or resources. We want things to be automatic.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard, right? It's the hardest thing, and keeping it up to date and nice, very hard to do. So, for example, we've got a massive education company here involved. Again, they're distributed around the world. That kind of environment where they want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. It's very hard to do. Yeah. We've got, for example, a fashion client here. They're the sort of people that would be in Selfridges. And again, they're an Italian brand, and they're based in New York. So you've already got the different things going on there. They need a single voice where
cohesive.
they get cohesive voice because the US tends to be a very big part of every business. So they need that kind of place, and this kind of intranet allows their internal comms team to bring it all together. And they don't need a lot of people to do it. Yeah. That's the advantage. We don't have, because don't forget, in our news tool, for example, people can comment, but you might not want them to comment on stories.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
That has to be moderated. And if you don't have people there sitting there looking at every post, then you want to have. You might not want. You just might want to say.
Well, that's a job that someone has to do.
We're launching a new store in Milan. We're launching a new store in New York. That's the kind of information that you want. We've got here a company called Kinship. They are part of the Mars Group, which is interesting. So, for example, they actually build chips for pets. So if you've got like
with the Mars Group.
Yeah, they Pedigree Chum, Mr. Dog. I think they're all part of that.
One now,
yeah. So they put in the chips, then they can monitor and they can do.
The NFC thing. So when you go to the vet and stuff, you can.
Well, horses and they're looking at that kind of interesting stuff. So again, why would these companies do it? Because they want their technical people to have access to certain things, right? They want to bring the marketing people as well together. So they're quite, sometimes one end of the company doesn't have the same communication as the other end. So those are the sorts of things. Here we've got a company called Wired, technical company growing really fast. And the manager there said, in fact, he was an amazing manager. He said, I know we are growing so fast, we don't know anyone. We don't know who our people are. Yeah. So this is going to save us so much time because when we employ someone, they're on and we know that they've joined the department. So you get those sort of things.
Okay, that's it from us, guys. Thanks for taking the time to chat to us today, Pete. This was fantastic. Where can people go if they want to get some more information on this?
If they go to our website, one.steegle.com,
okay, great.
There'll be plenty of information there. There's some case studies, there are insights, talking about things going on in the marketplace as well.
Some of those case studies we went through are on the site.
Yeah, you'll find plenty of case studies there. Excellent. And it's always nice to see our Trustpilot reviews, which are truly glorious.
Excellent. A good thing to end on. Thanks very much for joining us today, people. If you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button. Indeed, comment below or hit that like if you're on YouTube. If you're looking at us on LinkedIn or Twitter or some other social media, please do give us a follow and tune in next week because we do a video every single week. Thanks very much.